All right, how's it going, man? Tomorrow here. Something that needs to be addressed because I was dealing with this while I took. I think I'm gonna probably take the majority of this month off too because I've been off since March 1st. Traveling around doing different things. All right, so let's get into it, man. Um, Everybody doesn't need to be a business. You don't. Everyone does, however, need skills and abilities to bring to a marketplace. That's something that you do have control of. Everybody necessarily don't need to be a business owner. Like me, I don't consider entertainers business owners. I don't consider ignorance peddlers business owners. I don't consider helmet niggas business owners. I don't consider information launderer business owners. I don't consider any of that illegitimate shit owning a business. They are in a business, but it's not a legit organization that you can scale up. So, like, I was talking to a friend of mine who's a medical doctor. We have like I think five medical doctors in our graduating in our small ass graduating class. Yeah, we have five medical doctors, and she was supremely concerned about trying to be a business owner. I'm like, look, you're a medical doctor. You make $250,000 a year in the South of all places. You're super busy doing stuff, and it's just like she's good at being a doctor. She's not good at running a business. I'm like, so if you're going to run a quote unquote a business, you got to know how business kind of works. Now you're going to have because she's one of these type of people who want to do everything and be a doctor. And I'm like, you can't do all that. You're going to need an office manager. You're going to need somebody to deal with insurance. Like all the stuff that I told her about her profession that she doesn't deal with. I just had to let her know that you're going to need a lot of management to get started with this particular concept. And it's like, right now, you're in a good position. You got a great life. Now, if you want to do what I helped my doctor friend do in Memphis, is, take some of these people on a 1099 basis. So that way you can get paid, you know, $300-400 an hour on the private side. Now, that's dealing with rich clients. That is a business, but you ain't got to worry about getting your money back from those people because it's a paid service. Now, if it's a paid service, that's way different. These people got the money. Like we have this whole dine at home nonsense going on in the South right now, where everybody don't want to live in hospice and all that kind of stuff. So they pay these people an people with money. People pay exorbitant amount of money for them to have their kind of hospice care at home to where they can visit their family and their relatives on their kind of schedule versus because most nursing homes and stuff, especially since this outbreak, they're not allowing people to come in there, not even to visit. Like I couldn't visit two of my aunts when I was in town. I couldn't even visit. I could talk to them on the phone, but I couldn't visit them. We had to like video chat, pretty much a Zoom, going to see your aunt in the hospital stuff. And it felt like, one of the prison shows, where it's like the phone on both sides of the thing, and she's putting her hand up, and I'm putting her hand up, like, man, what is this? But dude, everybody don't need to run a business, man. There's a lot of things that goes into this that has nothing to do with the particular skill itself, and especially a career field like medical, the type of legal stuff you gotta have in place. Insurance companies don't want to pay you for it. I mean, you could pretty much be chasing the dragon, trying to get your money the whole while you're in business as a person who is a doctor. Believe it or not, insurance companies will look at things and just yes, and you got to hire specialized people. who were specialized to handle that part of the business. So I'm like, listen, if it's the money, I understand you want to benefit off being in business. That's fine. But you got to stick within your comfort zone of things and not try to push things too far when you don't know what you're doing. Because you can waste a whole lot of time when it don't need to be. And if you're not prepared to hire other professionals to help you with things that you don't understand, or at least work with you long enough to help you understand and be able to call them back on an advisory level on a contract basis, then you just need to stay where you're at. But be able to bring those skills to the table. I remember the first contract I got after working for the VA. It was an IT contract. I managed a couple of IT contracts in, the Denver metro area and, managing servers and all that kind of stuff. Before I became a project manager. And yeah, it was easy because I managed a lot of stuff and they didn't pay that much for me managing that stuff. But when you manage 4 or 5 companies' stuff at the same time, that money can pretty much add up. I didn't have to worry about chasing down money or insurance companies. And I was just explaining to her the difference between being in business as an IT person versus being a person as, that type of person. Like it's like okay, let's say you own the club. I did. The only thing you have to do is pay the distributors when they show up with stuff, pay the workers, and the rest of the money's yours. The only thing you gotta do is just make sure a fight don't break out. You're just making sure that there ain't no prostitution going on in your parking lot. You can just shut down for that, especially if you're a strip club. Because so they get caught, they don't throw your ass under the bus immediately. So that's how that works. Again, you don't have to go through all these hoops and all this kind of stuff, but there's a fight around your stuff, and you're a minority business owner, they're gonna shut your ass down or hand you a whole bunch of fees to the point to where you won't be able to open back up your organization. Like I said, it's easier to obtain skills, and you should have a skill that you bring to the table. No, not entertainment bullshit and talk about stupid shit. I'm talking about tangible skill. Like go to school, get a skill. Not go to school, take all these easy classes, walk away with a degree. That means nothing. Everybody don't need to be no business owner, man. I mean, dude, there's so many businesses I was a part of that failed because I didn't know what the hell I was doing. I knew how to provide a service, but all the overhead and dealing with the DOT, well, this is when I owned a limousine company. All this kind of stuff and insurance and people not paying and credit card chargebacks and all these type of maintenance problems with the cars. I'm telling you, the stuff gets very involved. And here's the other thing. If you're not an effective employee on a management level, you're not going to be an effective business owner if it involves all those things. That's clearly how that works. And a lot of people don't get that, yeah, you can be on a 1099 basis and you can grow the 1099 thing to where you can just hire nurses on a contract basis because everybody's looking for extra money, especially nurses who work these long ass hours at these hospitals and stuff. Everybody looking for extra money. It's easier to do that because it's a point to point thing, giving a service, than it is getting way involved in a structure that you don't know. This is why when I meet and I talk to people, I am this. What are you? I am this. Well, I talk about bullshit. All right, man. Have a nice day. Because entertainers are consumers of environments. and they're maintainers of dysfunction inside of the environment. You can't do business with entertainers. Unless entertainers have a specific skill for a specific situation that you're involved in, that's when you deal with entertainers and stuff. Because I dealt with these porn stars and all this shit falling through at these places that I owned, and I'm telling you, this shit can be a hassle. Getting them to show up on time. You know what I'm saying? All kinds of stuff. But you can definitely do the skills and ability thing. Because here's how you scale it, Pooh. You go and you get the skill. You gotta have the skill first. Then once you have the skill, you scale it to a 1099 contract basis. Once you understand how the contract basis work, then you can stay on the contract basis and hire other contractors to do the same thing that you do. Then what you do is you go get a consultant to figure out how to do this stuff right. Then you go to the next level. What's going on, G? So it's like, dude, there's a like you just said, man, there's a natural progression to this, man. And artificially being a business owner is not going to help you out at all, especially if you ain't got the skills in order to bring forth the actual task to market. It's not going to help you. There's a person in the city when I went home, and they just went out of business. They own a clothing store, and I had to tell them the dynamics of if there is no tangible economy like it is in places in Mississippi because all the jobs are leaving. Like if there's no tangible economy, people are not going to go out. People are not going to need new clothes. The discretionary income that they would normally spend on your clothing now goes towards food. And the person should have probably took their PPP loan or their EIDL loan and just closed their business and just found a way to close their business, file bankruptcy. No, try to hold on to it. Try to hold on to these high ass monthly payments to this business building that they were in. I'm like, look, man, you could have took this stuff online. You could have just drop shipped this stuff, man. Like, dude, there's literally no reason to have a storefront like that. But he's an older dude. He doesn't know how all this stuff works. So he thought if he wasn't paying this money each month for this big ass department store, he wouldn't be able to sell simplistic dress shirts. I'm like, bro, listen, man. Here's Amazon. Here's dress shirt. Boom. It comes right to their house. This is what you're competing with. Oh, I don't want to do business like that. I'm like, bro, listen, man. The environment constantly changes and you got to change with it. That's another thing about being in business. You got to do business in an effective way in order to stay competing. And if you don't, you will eventually lose out. You're going to always need that skill. And then you got to be in the right market for your skill to actually take hold. Have pride in the skill. You can scale the skill to a business. If you want to be in business and then you want to try to turn back around and try to get the skill later, dude, it ain't going to work that way. Again, you got to understand the process because people have a hard time with process because they're trying to benefit off of something more than they understand for something. And that's the hustler's mindset. Oh, I'm just gonna try to do this the best way I could, and then turn around and I'm a benefit off it. And then when it goes wrong, I'm just gonna walk away, and everybody else gonna be holding the bag. Like, no, man, you're not gonna be able to do that for one time. And especially now, you're probably just going to be able to do it one time. You're not going to be able to move to another area doing this type of stuff, man. So let's go over some of these things that people actually do wrong once they are in business. The first thing I see people do is they loot the company. How do you loot the company, you ask? All of a sudden, they got to be Mercedes Benzed up. All of a sudden, they got to live in the highest and richest area of town. All of a sudden, the kids got to go to private school. All of a sudden, they wearing all this Gucci and bullshit like that. All of a sudden, their standard of life has to change dramatically because they are doing a little bit better. So now all the profit of your organization is now has been turned into self-esteem based objects. So pretty much you're the working poor. You're just in business. I've seen it all the time when I was in corporate America. People got those 20, $30,000 raises. They immediately turn that stuff into 20 and $30,000 problems. Come on, Mike B. Immediately after they got it. Dude, there's a lot of effective people who provide skills to businesses. There's a lot of great IT people out there who do an enormous, great job with the business that they're in. They don't need to scale that. They need to stay current on the skill that they're actually in, but everything don't need to be scaled to a business. Because let's say, like tomorrow, if everybody dropped everything what they were doing, it's going on, Scott. Okay, okay, so let's say everyone dropped exactly what they were doing and everybody went into business. How would that work? We don't have an economy based on everybody being a business person. We have 320, maybe more plus million people in America. Do you think this place would be able to operate efficiently and effectively if there were 320 plus million corporations in the same place? It wouldn't make sense. But you can't get 320 million. Well, you know, the great majority of those are kids at this point. But you can't get most of those people's skills and abilities that they can take to any environment. And that's the problem. People don't understand this stuff, man. The only thing they're trying to do is really just benefit off of it without understanding it, trying to BS their way through it. They don't care about the suppliers who they can screw over, all this type of stuff. All these things are relationships. Here's the thing. If you can't build relationships in real life and keep them and maintain them, you're not going to be able to build and maintain relationships in the business world either. It's the same thing. You're not going to be able to screw people over in business consistently. You're not going to be able to keep throwing people under the bus consistently. You're not going to be able to not listen to experts that you hire to give you information on how to run your business. You're not going to be able to do that while you're in business. You can only do that as an employee of a company. This is why I don't take a salary for myself. I don't care about that type of stuff because my self esteem is not based on trying to do all this stuff to attract attention. These clothes, I bought these clothes 5 or 6 years ago. I really don't buy clothes like that. I really don't even buy new shit like that. I don't. Car, I have the same cars for a while. I'm not buying no new equipment. If I buy anything, it's going to be trucks or truck parts. That part of the business I can't get away from. But all this other self-esteem based stuff, man, I'm not even trying to buy that stuff because I'm not trying to garner the attention of people who would be attracted to those types of things. That's another problem. And then people have that get their items. They don't understand the marketplace. They buy a whole bunch of inventory that they don't need. Then they have no way to get it off. And then they want the actual environment to rescue them from their failed proposition of not researching things properly. It's going to come down to you having to understand the process at some point. You're just not going to be able to fake it till you make it in the business world. You're not going to be able to do that. You're not just going to be able to do that, man. And it's hard to tell people that. It's like when people come to me like, oh man, I want to be in the transportation industry and I want to book loads for companies and could you help me out with that? I'm like, bro, listen, a brand new company wants to make $250,000 to $300,000 a year. If you don't know what you're doing, why would they depend on you fresh out the gate trying to manage their company to do that? If you don't know how to do it, how are you going to manage or lead what you don't even create? I know how it sounds. I know how it may feel. I know how stupid and dumb you may think you are when you look at it. But when you look at it properly and you adjust to it right away, you don't have to have these hard conversations over and over again. You're only going to need to have them just one time. You're only going to need to apply the correct concept one time. And guess what? You're going to have to spend the majority of your time researching before you act. It's probably going to be 10,000 hours to one, 100,000 hours to one. Yeah, you're going to have to put that much time in before you actually go out there and shoot your shot. This ain't basketball. You're not Allen Iverson. No, you're not going to go out there and shoot 65 times a game. You're not doing that. Because if you put too much ineffective time in, you're going to be missing out in other areas. This is why like, dude, everybody don't need to be a business owner. Everybody don't need to be one. You need skills and abilities, man. That's what's going to get your ass there. Let's say that you're in business. You got a brick and mortar place. You didn't expand. And all of a sudden there's a hurricane, tornado, flood, earthquake, fire, you name it, in your area. The insurance company is not going to give you enough money for your loss. No, despite how it's told to you, they're not going to give you enough money to get all the way back on your feet. They're going to give you enough money to move on to something else, unless it's properly insured. Because most people don't properly insure their stuff anyway. They pay all these rates, and then when something happens, they realize the policy is not X, Y, Z. Again, you need help with this stuff. But benefiting off of a broken system is not how business works all the time. Not for every industry. Go ahead and make like running a restaurant, like I said, entertainment, clubs, nightclubs, sports bars. Those things are different. Way different from like medical, technology, transportation, or anything dealing with the government. Period. You're gonna need help with those things, man. No. So it's kind of harmful when people say that the kind of the employee versus the business owner thing. It's a harmful conversation because you're just trying to score bullshit points without actually trying to discuss both of those things. Because you can provide a service as an IT person, and a person can be a manager of, I don't know, a wing place or a lunch spot. Is one really better than the other? No. Does one provide a greater service than the other person based on skills and ability? Yes. Is there a need to artificially pit one against the other? No. The point is to be productive and bring some type of service to the environment itself until you get to run the environment. But a lot of people want to run the environment by trying to walk in the middle of the night and trying to take it from other people who do understand the process. That stuff only happens in third world countries and coups. You're not just going to be able to just walk in and take somebody's organization after they build it. This is why everybody's waiting around for all the skilled labor to come rescue them from their stagnation. Because everybody's waiting for their opportunity for Dogecoin or AMC or Bitcoin to fall to $1 and then up to $50,000. No, dude, there's a process to all of this. And if you don't understand the process and you're just simply trying to benefit off the process, it's just not going to work, man. It never works that way. Like I said, especially right now, contract nursing, right now during COVID, hey man, them people get paid a lot of money. A lot of money. More than IT people. But that time's going to come to an end too. And then the rates are going to fall back down to normal. And then they're not going to be able to justify those rates that they're actually paying out. It's coming. Believe you me, it's coming. Think about it. All those mass places that I've seen pop up and what's left of these malls right now, as things are starting to open back up and these companies are coming back to normal, ain't nobody really in there like that. Now this stuff has to move online and all these kiosks are closing down. Again, it wasn't going to be a long-term thing. But you got to understand the difference, man. You got to live in the world of tangibles. You got to understand the end to beginning thinking and the beginning to end thinking. That all requires understanding the process before you just go hard charging off in any direction. But a lot of people, for some reason, don't want to do that. Doesn't make any sense. It really doesn't. Everybody don't need to be a business owner. And don't let business owners stunt on you as an employee. Don't let them do that. I'm never going to do that to people who are employees of organizations. I understand the back and forth in between both. I understand that. It takes employees to make businesses great. Oh, Melanie. So if everybody just decided to be business owners and nobody else was workers, how is it supposed to work? This is why, like, you see these people in business barely hanging on, always talking shit about effective employees of organizations, highly effective employees of organizations, trying to get their self-esteem damaged by people who are just shittily in business, barely making it. Come on, Melody, thanks for 999 super chat. And it's like, dude, it's not even needed. It's like this. Think about the fight for 15 minimum wage thing, where you had a bunch of incredibly ignorant individuals not understanding bringing the pay up for everybody would increase the standard of living for everybody. But they're like, oh man, you don't need no $15 an hour for flipping no burger. No, no, they're just gonna hire less people. No, that means that they're gonna need less people for unskilled labor. That means that you get to move on to skilled labor, sir or ma'am. That doesn't mean that my spot in unskilled labor is being taken. No, you're supposed to move on to something else at that point. Yes, that's how that works. You got to stop thinking that an artificial bottom is going to protect you. It isn't. A company can pick up and move out of town, and if you don't move with the company, they can just find different people in another area. This is why being a highly effective employee is going to pay dividends. They can find managers anywhere. They can find people who can be nice, who can do stupid shit, who can kiss ass and smile in the face and stab you in the back. Like, dude, those people are a dime a dozen now. There's a ton of good labor on the market right now. A ton of it. Thanks for the $5 super super. Just a moment. Yeah, and it's like at some point you need to figure out where you fit into all this. There's so many people that I meet in like grocery stores. I just pull them back to the side and just talk to them, change their whole life. Go get an HVAC license, go do this, go through that, go into a career field where the stuff is pretty easy to get into, but it's work that quote unquote don't nobody want to do. And these people are making money doing it. And guess what? Their business started with a skill. The skill turned into a 1099 situation. The 1099 contract situation turned into business. Then when he was in business, he didn't significantly destroy his business by upgrading his standard of living. Then he hired employees and paid them. Then he was able to still grow his business. Now he's been in business 5 years, doing great. 10 people under him. There's 24-hour service calls for heating and cooling. Dude makes a lot of money for what he claims is a very basic skill. This dude said that he did harder work at the grocery store. Harder work than it was fixing on these big ass heating and cooling units. Other than, the climbing up ladders and all that kind of stuff. He said he effectively did more work when he was unskilled rather than the skilled trade that he picked up. This is why I'm saying the skills and abilities is going to take you there. The whole trying to benefit off stagnation in a broken culture, dude, that stuff is almost at its end, man. Like I said last night, you're going to need a lot of lost people to produce these demagogues. And with these people not being able to survive within those environments, they're not going to need to look up to the person who's at the top of the food chain. They're just not going to need to do that. There's no need in being embarrassed about where you are at. But you need to attach yourself to a skill that's going somewhere so that way you can go somewhere. I didn't think I'd be where the hell I am right now either. I could have easily not left Mississippi. I could have easily got me a job around the corner at a department store until it went out of business, and I wouldn't have known all this stuff until that stuff left. Until life wasn't so easy and automatic. Then all of a sudden I had to think about all the things that I should have been thinking about that entire time on autopilot. Well, Eric Bird, those are guys who just don't want to follow any type of process. So they want to follow the hardest process possible because it doesn't lead to any type of result. And they don't want a result that can be tracked or traced. That's why they do things like that. That's why I don't trust pro-blacks for the most part. Because you tell them to organize people to vote, or else what would you want to organize for? And it's all about looping back into the damage culture. It's all about talking about relationships and all this other stuff that isn't going to be fixed, that doesn't have a timeline, that doesn't have an endpoint to it. What's going on, Yuri? That's why I don't even take pro-black seriously, and I can't stand them. I think they're worse than white supremacists. Actually, most pro-blacks, especially the ones who don't have their mouth open about you know entertainment culture and eyeballs being the new black male productivity. Like even being pro-black is like obsolete. because you can only be pro-black if you got a counterpart who's actually want to work with the actual people who are quote unquote pro-black. But if you don't have that, and only one side has to pick up the slack for the other people, then it just doesn't make any sense. The concept don't make any sense because the concept can't grow if one person have to do two people's work. Yeah, man, that bootstraps is bullshit. Walmart, Office Depot, Amazon, you name it. They all trying to get government contracts. Yeah, whenever there's something out there, those defense contractors ain't trying to pull themselves up by the bootstraps. They ain't trying to hear that shit. They're trying to, dude, they're trying to bid on those billion-dollar contracts, man. Oh, sorry. People do not want to take chances. Isn't that the American way to explore new things, have a vision, and build? No, that's not the. All right. Thanks for finding out super chat, Slumber. All right, let me address it. Here's what the American dream is, actually. Go to school, get a job in your small town, stay in that house that you bought within your small town, be able to retire there, be able to raise your kids there. You send your kids off to other communities. That's the American dream. The American dream was about not putting that much work in. The American dream was about having one or two jobs. That job was going to take you all the way to retirement. And once you're retired, you was going to try to get your kids to practice the same amount of things once they left college in the cities that they attached themselves to and the relationships that they built across the country. That is what the American dream was, actually was. You know, the picket fence and all that kind of stuff, that's what it was. Get yourself one job, not really have to update or upgrade or even compete with anybody. And that's what the dominant society did. You know, that's why they have, all these type of government organizations that's set up to combat some of these inequalities in society that people keep thinking that they ain't there. Yeah, that's what it was. But now that you have these opportunities in the hands of people in third world countries, they didn't have opportunities to internet and the ability to have skills and abilities so that way they didn't have to live in the street. America had all the everything and no one else had anything. So once they opened up free trade, Richard Nixon, all this stuff went all over everywhere else. That's what happened. Strong super microwave. So that's what the American dream was. It's kind of like when you listen to people, and these are the people you need to stay the hell away from, by the way. When they talk about they just want to be financially free, but they ain't got no type of skills and abilities to get there, get the fuck away from those people, especially if they're women. Get the fuck away from them. Because a person who has that type of attitude will sell out anybody, who will screw anybody over for anything for their comfort. They'll maintain all types of systems. They will information launder, ignorance peddle. They will do anything to maintain their comfort. They will do anything to maintain the environment the way it is so that way they can survive. I don't want to hear that. When I hear this financial freedom bullshit, I'm like, okay, so what kind of field you in? Oh, I'm not in the field. Okay, so you just want to benefit off somebody else's work. Because we have a system that's set up for that too. Like producers are not even protected at all within society. You can have a person who can get with a producer under false pretenses because it's all post hoc rationalization based on the fact that there's outputs called divorce where somebody actually benefits and it's not the person who produced in most cases. So yeah, you can have a person walk in like most of the highest earning women now are because of divorce, not even because of work or degrees or going to school or any of this stuff. So it's like, look, you're gonna have a level of protection for self. That's the whole reason of creating all this stuff in the first place. Not for the frivolous giveaway, but so that way you can be able to build on stuff. And all those people claim that they don't need the government. Oh, okay, all right. Show me your life. I can tell you in each and every way, every single day, how you need the government for everything, especially people who benefit from a broken system. If they fix a broken system, there's no need for people to be stunting on benefiting from the broken system itself. If they actually fix that, you see, this is why people want to fight in ineffective ways. So that way there'll never be any progress. So that way they can maintain their position of power inside of any environment. That's how that works. This is why I say you need skills and abilities, man. Yeah, I can show you a check that I guess cash. There's not enough YouTube money that's gonna make up for that shit. None. Even if I got YouTube money for like what the next 5 or 10 years, it would never make up to that amount of check for an actual service. It wouldn't. And guess what? Everybody's on the ground floor of the skills and abilities people. There's too many places to go to school now. There's too many places to get those skills and abilities. You have a workforce center in every single county that tells you what the top jobs are, what type of education that they're willing to fund, what type of technical school, how much percent off you can get for that, what type of grants they offer to actually get you in that field. This is why I say we need to start removing these benefits from single parents and start giving them to individuals who are going to school for a particular career field like IT or something else. Just as long as it's tangible things. I don't mind giving Section 8 to a dude who's in college for being a doctor. I don't mind doing that. If you get this person a place to stay, I mean, because they're not going to be able to really work effectively anyway, being in school like that. This is why policy, how many times Mike B has said it? Policy shapes the environment. So if you wanted to have these single mothers with effective kids, why don't you tell them that they get 3 times the welfare if they be on birth control after their first kid, and another 2 times after that if this kid makes straight A's? You know what happens then? There won't be no kids being born, and the kids that are born, they're going to be focused on making those kids productive people, which is overall going to cost less money for the entire system. That's actually fiscal conservatism. But see, it takes an amount of investment to get that back. If you look around, like Kansas, Nebraska, Wyoming, Iowa, Idaho, some places in Oregon, especially the actual rural parts of Oregon outside of Portland, you've seen all these wind farms and solar panels go up. Why? Those people got a lot of money for doing that from the government. The same people who was telling you to pick shit up out of bootstraps, the moment them subsidies was offered, those farmers did the exact opposite of what they was trying to tell me and you to do. So that's what I'm saying. You have to understand how the environment works. But if you're looking for a demagogue to outsource this to you and kind of launder the information and then just present it to you, you're always going to be lost. That's what the skills and abilities piece is about, practical application. Yes. Once you have a skill and ability, you're going to understand the hell out of practical application. Because if you don't practice that skill and ability right or wrong, you're going to get somebody killed. You can actually get your ass locked up, or you can be in a ton of trouble. You can ruin your reputation. Yeah. This is why I say everybody don't need to be a business owner. Think about it. I know people who do underwater welding off the coast, off the Gulf Coast, make a great living. They only work like I think like 9 months out of the year, and then they come back to the South and chill for 3 months. I think they chill from like maybe like New Year's to like tax season, and then they come back and they come out there and they do welding after that. Does that guy need to own a business? Should somebody be trying to tell that guy that he's less than because he does underwater welding for I think like $45 an hour? Is that guy less of a man because he does a skill where he gets paid a lot of money? Should he be shitted upon by people who are in business? How much sense does it make for an underwater welder to be talked about like he's nothing by a person just because they're in business? When this guy provides a skill that not many people can do, especially welding with both hands. No, I'm not. I'm not. I'm good on the fire stuff. Welding with both hands, that's a skill. My little brother does it, and it looks magic. But it's a skill. Do these people need to go in business? Probably not. Look at all these investment houses. They have a lot of people who are investors at these places. They're not trying to own a business. Those people are trying to monitor and make that skill good at these investment houses. Those people are not trying to go out and formulate their own hedge funds. Rarely people even break off and do that. But most people make those millions of dollars a year working for the firm. They don't split off and do their own thing. So you mean to tell me a person who has a skill as an investor is somehow less of a person than a person who owns a barbecue shack store, a clothing store, or Amazon FBA account? You mean to tell me somebody who has skills like that is less than that? That's what I'm saying, man. Like, bro, and it's how people approach to it's like people want the title, but not the responsibility. That's actually what's beneath it. Now, that's kind of a subsegment of I want the benefit, but not the responsibility. And like below that is I want to benefit without understanding. And it's still based on not trying to follow a simple process. Anything in the world not to bypass the process. They want to get it out of the mud. They want to have all this idle time around. They just don't want to be held to no specific standards. And once you have a skill, you have to be held to some standards. Once you get a certification, yes, now you have to be held to some standards. Yeah, now you can't go out there with this YOLO shit. Yeah, you do something that's unethical according to those standards, and they're going to remove their certification from you. That's how that works. Again, when people are discussing, now, okay, so let's talk about the employee employer side of it, and then let's talk about the stakeholder CEO side of things. When was the last time you seen fast food CEOs talk shit about IT CEOs? When was the last time you ever heard of that? That's right, you never heard it. You want to know why? They're part of the same class and they understand how the business works. And they understand that if they work together behind the scenes, they can keep their power. Employees don't even think like that. Employees are too individualistic to work together as a group. That's how unions work. Could you imagine as a singular employee with skills trying to go and negotiate yourself good ass benefits and all that kind of stuff? It's damn near impossible. They could just use somebody else. This is why this stuff is vitally important, man. That bro, most of this stuff, most of these needing these artificial titles is not even needed. Or you bring a product or a service that makes sense. Or you bringing that to the market doesn't make sense. Are you able to produce for sale? Doesn't make sense. Are you really trying to keep your money, or are you just trying to stunt and give it away? Did you really go through all this to turn your profits into better house in another community and better looking car so that way you can feel good about yourself? Because a lot of people are trying to feel good about themselves. They're not really trying to legitimately produce anything, but just trying to feel good about themselves or feel better than the next person. But if you just focused on the individual skills and abilities piece, there's no need to have this argument. And again, I'm talking to this business owner and he thinks he's the shit. I'm like, do you really think you're the shit other than truck drivers, people who leave town? You think he's the shit because he gets to make money and he stays in the city. And here's the other thing. He needs all those other people's businesses in the same environment that he claimed that he runs in order for his shit to work. This is what I'm saying. Like, people don't understand the overall picture, man. For nothing in the world. I don't understand it. You'll never hear me shitting on nobody about being no employee or anything like that. I just want your skill to be able to have a level of progression to it that makes sense for you to be able to move up. There are people right now who just got one truck who bring in 20, 30 grand a month because that's the business that they built with their track record. And they don't work that much out of the year. And guess what? Even while doing that, they say that company a whole bunch of money by having a stable product that they can depend on. Is that person any greater of an asset than another person who's a truck driver, somebody else, and don't know anything about that process? Are they? That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. You got to know the difference, man. And you have to know how this stuff works for you. Because there's no individual who's going to produce for a group. There's no individuals that's going to produce for a group. There's not going to be a cachet of men or women who's going to be able to produce for a group. This is not a cow. It is not a nipple or teeth that you're just going to be able to come up to just because you sat back and decided that you were not going to be the productive class. It doesn't work that way. We've already seen it. It don't work that way. We've seen the outcomes. We're here. The decisions that were made in the early 90s through the early 2000s, we're looking at the results of them right now. The results of the actions right now, you're not going to be able to see them until 2030 or 2040. I mean, because people want to be, like I said before, it's just that people want the title without the responsibility, just to brag on it. They don't want the responsibilities that go through it. They don't want to be able to put in the work that it takes to get there. They just want the title so that way they can be able to stunt to other people that they made it without respecting the process. That's all. That's the only reason why they want it for real. Like, they only want the title for a day or two, not understanding that that title goes in quarters and maybe 4 or 5 years. But if they cheat the system and they actually get there, they would ruin the concept for other people who actually care about the process. And that's kind of how that works. What's going on, David Bone? What's going on, King Sigma? What's going on, man? King Sigma, you're on mute.
Hey, good morning, MOT. Appreciate the
What's up?
conversation this morning.
Yeah, it's just that people got to understand, man. Like, bro, we got to get rid of these goddamn titles, man. Because these artificial titles sound like champion of the world and all this kind of like. Come on, man.
Well, that's
You're not
because
going to be. Okay.
I think that's because most people in the audience they're not aware of how easy it is to become a quote unquote business owner on paper. Everyone in America could become a business owner on paper for $120. There's no state in America that's going to turn down, the $100 to $50 to $300 that it takes to just go incorporate yourself. But here's a problem that a lot of people just don't understand. The stats work against the idea of everyone being a business owner, but the economy itself doesn't allow for more than, I think the cap on a capitalist market the size of the US is like 20% business owners and 80% employers of some rank. And I think in America right now, it's like 15%. So there is still some remaining room for more to become business owners, and they should. And we know that the economy is changing over the last couple of years. It's really going through this change. So whereas 20 years ago, it cost, I think on average to start a business, maybe $15,000 or $20,000. But today, the Small Business Administration says the average business now is like $3,500 because of just how the gig economy works, how people can contract out. So this idea of everyone being a business owner, it wouldn't even work even in the most simplest simulation, because you can only have so many employers in an environment because you need a lot more people to be consumers and employees. But I think this is one of those anchor conversations that somehow indirectly anchors people back to the female in a lot of ways. So
of course it does.
It's one of those Big Willie kind of conversations, like, back in the D-boy era. That was how the D-boys talk. I'm a CEO. No, you're a drug dealer. And you're going to jail.
Your name is not Pfizer or Merck.
No, it's not. You're not employing. No, you're not doing. So you had the D-boys were always somehow they were CEOs, and they used to have like fronts, like, barbershops. What was another popular one? Car wash was kind of popular, but barbershops was always one of the easy fronts.
Car wash, barbershops, barbecue places, hole in the wall clubs that don't nobody went to.
Yeah. That everyone gets shot up at.
Yeah.
And that's usually how they get knocked, is because they got a club as a front, and then their enemies come up in there and shoot up the club, and now that everyone's going to jail. So
yeah, like Bruce Ellison, this is good. Like people need to understand the difference between sold a product that don't care about outcomes, track record, testimonials, in an actual system that produces actual outcomes. Everybody just want to sell their product. It's kind of like if we wasn't interconnected like this, people would be trying to sell the product of like Dogecoin and the potential that you can make a whole bunch of money off of it. They would be selling that as a product. Like they would sell that as a PDF to somebody. Selling people on the idea that you can benefit from something without understanding the process. And then there's the process of understanding how the market works, which is an actual skill.
Yeah.
And understanding the boom and bust cycle of things.
Well, we can always go back to the club scenario. So you got a lot of guys that they open these clubs with drug money or whatever, and then the same guys they were shitting on, the 9-to-5 guys, the trade skillsman guys or whatever, guess what? You may have had that moment in time, but when the feds come and get you, they're taking all your assets. They could be taking relatives' assets. The same women that was sweating you when you was on top, fronting like the Big Willie, they're laid up with those square dudes who they just had a consistent, steady income. And the same female that's laid up with you, she'll be laid up with them. Because that's why I don't understand why these dudes put so much energy into trying to impress these Western women. Western women have made it clear. They will jump from whoever's winning at the moment without blinking. They have no shame about it. I've seen it so many times in my life, bro. I know women guys I know personally, put up in the best condos, had them riding, the Benz, the Lexus, everything. And you would thought, man, this is a great power couple, right? But then as soon as something happened and something changed for that individual guy, she was gone. She didn't return that car. She didn't return the cash that he gave her. In fact, many of these women, they go clean it up. They go to the church. You got a lot of these women in the church right now. Now they all of a sudden looking for a quote unquote good man. And there are men that will take those women off the market because again, she presents a whole different face to that new dude. So everyone is still trying to front and put in all this braggadociousness for these women that they're really public property, man. They're not loyal to you. So why are you giving your freedom and your resource so freely to an individual that doesn't care about you at the end of the day?
Yeah. It's just that let's get away from the women piece. But like, what people don't understand that when they buy all this stuff, right? The government auctions happen and this stuff goes for nothing. You wouldn't believe the amount of vehicles that I bought and was able to resell off of these auctions. All I do, I just wait for somebody to get busted. And then I'm like, all right, man, when are they going to have this auction? I want me some nice stuff for cheap because, the state ain't going to be able to keep it. They want to get rid of it. They just don't want to move it from one place to another, not more than once. And so all this time that they put into buying all these ridiculous things are going for pennies on the dollar to people that they don't even know. So they did all this stuff, built nothing, and got nothing out of it in the end. So that's what I'm saying, man. Artificial titles don't pay that well over time. It's going to destroy your credibility to be able to run anything. But that's just where we at with it.
Well, another thing too, though, is that to make this argument about business owners versus employees, you're going to have a hard time convincing me that someone that's working at Goldman Sachs as a private account manager who's pulling in maybe $1 million per year with their bonuses and everything, you're going to have a hard time convincing me that that person is somehow inferior to a person who owns a cellophone franchise store that they're just set up, that their income that they're producing each year is still only $40K. Because again, when it comes to business,
etc. Yeah, I'm like, come on, man.
Yeah, you got to look at the actual balance sheet. So these guys, that's the problem with so many blacks, right? They're so big in the appearances and titles, and I know why that is, because they've been the black majority is so impoverished that anything that looks successful, they'll attach themselves to it. But then again, they don't look at the balance sheet. They're not looking at, okay, how much income is actually being made by said business. So you're going to tell me that a Goldman Sachs trader who has all the credentials, all the networks, and
that's what I'm saying.
They could go out into to the economy and do what you're doing easily for a title, but yet that person is making $250K, not including their bonuses, access to private jets. Why would they give up that position to get a fake title from dudes on the street saying if you're an alpha or a beta or an omega male because you're employed? But some alphas think, hey, I'm an alpha in your marketplace, but I'd rather go work with these other alphas and create the largest banking firm in the world while you're out here struggling to make $30K a year. It doesn't make any sense.
With a title that don't mean shit.
Yeah, because you can call yourself CEO. I'm the CEO of Black and White Barbers or Black and White Mobile or whatever it is. But then at the end of the day, your bank account is still not growing because we know as much as we want to tell the story, half of all businesses will fail within 5 years. So who's feeding your children? And this is where the insult comes in for the average, but that's why I never get into these conversations, because this whole back and forth between dudes trying to one up other classes of men for the advantage of getting the attention of these people that have a short attention span, less than 3 seconds. You're not going to tell me that the guy's feeding your
people in South do this all the time, man. And I'm like, bro, I'm like, man, you need all these people working in order for your business to work, and you shitting on business people. What kind of sense does that make?
But who's feeding your children while your business isn't making money? See, this is what I'm saying about the insult, though. Again, it takes most to determine if a business has a chance of success. It's usually about 3 years, right? During those first 3 years, most smart, wise business owners are pumping most of their money into their business, depending on what the nature of the business is. It could be for research purposes, it could be for inventory, marketing, whatever, but they're taking a big risk because they have to take a big percentage of their income to pump into the business. Guess what you depend on? You depend on the society at large. Those guys that you're making fun of that go to work every day that are consistent with taxes, they're the ones that are going to take care of your children, make sure that they're schooled and fed and clothed while you're putting all your money into the business. That's what a society like this offers.
Correct. And it's like they don't understand the setup to the point to where they think they could just shit on the setup and benefit from it at the same time. I don't understand that.
I understand. I do. I told you what I think it is. I think it's just that the interest in praise, right? Human beings love to be praised. And if they don't get enough praise in their private life, one of the things that social media has offered an opportunity for guys that are not getting that praise to come online and get the praise of hundreds, thousands, maybe even millions of people. But guess what? Most of these people, I would say over 90, don't give a shit about you. They just don't. They'll listen to you. They'll give you likes and things like that. But ultimately, you're just that moment. They go on to their lives. As soon as they log off, they're on to their real lives. So I don't think it's like something that you should put so much of your energy into trying to impress people that really don't care. It could be you, another person. They don't care. They just want to be entertained at the moment.
Yeah. Yeah, I get it, man. But this stuff is everywhere. I mean, I was trying to explain to like two different people how this works, and they was just so not willing to hear it, period, because it was kind of worldview destroying for them to listen to another opinion of how stuff actually works.
Well, you remind me of Charles Payne, so you just made me think of Charles Payne's show. I don't know why I was about to almost called you Charles Payne for a reason, but on his show, he brings on different people to talk about big business and things like that, right? And you notice when you look at these other groups of people, like white, Asian, whatever, I rarely see like any kind of known entertainer within those groups being brought on to talk about the business world to the extent that like blacks are. Almost all the time, whenever there's like some kind of serious business conversation, political conversation, it's almost 9 times out of 10 they got some kind of entertainer for black, representing black thought on business or politics. And that's what it is, because the dominant majority has created this situation where the black entertainer is supposed to be the know-all, be-all representative for all the different 9 areas for black people, whereas with other groups, they bring on experts on said topic. They don't bring on a comedian to talk about economics or
jack of all trades.
Yeah,
stupidity.
Yeah. That's what they do. So they always kind of anoint some entertainer, and they will just say, "Well, this guy, he's an entertainer, but he's also an expert on business, or he's an expert on science." But when it comes to like science, when white people want to talk science, they got someone from NASA on there. Maybe they'll have someone like an Elon Musk or Jeff Bezos to give the business perspective on space travel or something. But you don't see them going to get Jerry Seinfeld to join this conversation. I've never seen it.
I can tell you why that is. It's twofold, and people need to understand how that works too. They want to give people who are highly successful in one area the confidence to go into another area so that way they can be taken advantage of by people in that marketplace.
Give an example of that. Give an example of what you mean exactly.
So it's like, let me give you an example. Master P, very good at running a record label, artist, but he didn't know what he was doing when it came to managing players. Sports franchise. And that's just an example. He's very successful in his own right. It's kind of a bad example because I like him a lot, but it's just that these people who try to cross over into other things, that's kind of the way that works.
How did that work out for Ricky Williams, bro? Like, I do remember, man, supposedly it was a sports agent. How did that work out for Ricky Williams, man?
It didn't. That's the thing. It didn't. Because, that's what happened.
Yeah, and I mean, you don't have to be a jack of all trades. And I think that's been something that's been pushed for black males specifically, that entertainment, then you become this jack of all trades, but then our whole Western society is built off specialization.
And it's like how many jack of all trades that you're going to actually need to represent something before people become individually specialized in something? So is everybody supposed to be this jack of all trades?
Nope.
Okay, so it's like 5% of people are supposed to be jack of all trades, and the 95% of people are supposed to be the beneficiaries of the jack of all trades. That's the way it's supposed to work.
Well, there is an outcome for that. That's why we have a growing Skid Row population of black males. Sure, there's a lot of systematic issues, individual racism, whatever. But honestly, I've met a lot of cats that if you told them, hey man, you need to take this job delivering for UPS, right? They'll tell you, shit, I'm not taking no damn job delivering no boxes for nobody, man. Because they've been cultured in a society that tells them that it's a zero-sum situation, like we were referring to, where if you got an LLC or if you don't got that title of CEO, you ain't nothing. And I know a lot of cats, I'm talking about from my personal life, that they would never take a job that was like a 9-to-5 job that did, of course, they're never gonna make 100K, but I'm saying that's what they will tell you. Man, does it pay $50 an hour? No, it doesn't pay $50 an hour, it pays $20 an hour. Man, I'm not taking no damn job, $20 an hour working for no white people. That's what they will tell you. But then this will be the same person, homeless, and walking, but at the same time, they'll be walking around with the new shoes on. I swear to God, I've had cats come up to me, hey bro, can I get $1? And I look at their shoes and their shoes better than mine. But that's their mentality. So it's all about, they want to have the image of being someone important rather than focusing on what is your balance sheet at the end of the quarter. Because we don't talk enough about balance sheet. You got all these guys claiming to have business, but have any of them showed you a balance sheet showing you how much inventory they had and how much they sold during a quarter? Have they showed you that with a certified CPA statement? No, they haven't showed you that. So it's just big Willie talk, man. And that's what a lot of black males like to get into. And that's why rap has been so big, because that's all rap really has been since at least 95 has been big Willie talk.
Yeah. And it's just that people have to understand, man, the individual results matter. Like I understand the statistical talk, but a lot of people are trying to benefit from the statistical talk without putting anything into the actual statistical talk other than talking about it. Like, okay, they're not productive in their own right, but they're talking about outcomes and all. Okay, what kind of private outcomes do you have? Oh, none. I'm just talking about other people's outcomes. All right, man.
They're commentators. That's their career field.
Yeah.
Commentator. I can't disrespect the hardworking brothers, because my stepfather, who passed away last year, may rest in peace. He worked in construction. He was an electrician for 30 years. And he used to tell me stories, because he always wanted me to go do a summer job on his work site, but it just wasn't my personality. And he would always tell me about like the deaths of men doing these jobs, building these skyscrapers, these tall buildings. I know one of the football stadiums that got built out of here, he was working on. He told me how a couple people died on it. And I'm just like, wow, these people are just trying to make a living to feed their children, to survive out here. And they take great risk. And for guys that are able to sit in an air-conditioned office, which is a great privilege that I've actually had, but to shit on people that are out there, doing these high-risk jobs so that you, with your 6- and 7-figure salary, can have a box seat in a stadium is very disrespectful. And it is going to come back to bite this whole society eventually. Watch.
No, I mean, it's already happening now. Like I just left, I just left home, and these are the results that's going to cascade across the country. Like, the dudes are just not even trying to deal with the women in that environment. They would rather go single and broke rather than deal with the women in that environment. I mean, the consequences are so widespread that everybody have just repelled from dealing with them at all, unless you can afford the consequences. And that's what it is. It's going to spread everywhere. And there was always going to be a point that this was going to happen. And yeah, if True Skills is right, it is socially engineering, along with their actual lack of parenting and not even trying to steer these people clear of stuff. Like, other cultures can listen to the same music and still be straight A students. We can't do that for some reason. But
see, we don't respect hard work as a majority. That ethic of being hard workers and being praised for it disappeared during the last 30 years. Because even when my maternal grandfather was still living, and here's a man who specifically, he retired at like 60, but he was so much of a workaholic that even in his retirement, he ran a landscaping company with a team of people, but it was respected. He got honor within the community from everyone that lived in his neighborhood, his family, the other families. They respected that man because he fed his family. He was a decent human being, and he had a work ethic that people were proud of. But now you don't get celebrated for being a black man that's a hard worker, specifically, especially if you're like a plumber or one of these jobs that doesn't have like a prestigious image, but these guys have a nice solid income and they're consistent. They stay. You got these people that are stay talking badly about these people, and they're not rewarded for it. So guys say, well, why am I going to be a plumber? No one respects a plumber. No one respects an electrician until their toilet seat is jammed up, until their electricity goes out. Then they want to put some respect on those people's names.
Temporarily.
Yeah. Until as soon as the toilet issue is back over, oh, these plumbers ain't shit. They smell like shit, you know?
Yep. And that's what it's like, man. Like I noticed this like last night when I talked about, my nephews, about how not even living there, not even visiting them all that much. And I just told them, I'll tell you after you graduate, just seeing all the stuff that they went through, the so-called, red pill. Dude, they don't need red pill. These people need skills and abilities. Skills and abilities going to take them far. This game bullshit ain't going to do nothing but lead them right back into the uncultured woman if that's their typical endpoint. If it's not their typical endpoint and they want to go somewhere else, they don't need any of this shit. The only people who need this shit is the actual people whose actual end goal or point is those people right now. So that's just what it is. It's called me.
Hey, how you doing?
What's going on?
Hey,
what's going on, man?
How you doing? What's
going
on?
I
thought you. Were you talking to me or talking to someone else?
No. I was shouting out Mugen in the chat, but you go ahead. I was going to go.
Oh, my bad. All right. I just wanted to say something because I understand where it comes from, but like I said, I think we talked about it. It's a war economy in the sense that we're so down and out. People can come in and take advantage of just a situation and kind of lead us astray. Like I was saying, like everybody wants to skip over the progression that it takes to become a business owner. There's nothing wrong with being a business owner. I'm gonna say this, and you said it all the time. My dad has a similar situation, like circumstances. Most brothers that got into business had a traumatic experience as an employee to where they said, you know what, F this, let me get out of this. I can do this better. I can do it myself. But it didn't just happen overnight. You didn't go to Vistaprint and print out some cards that said CEO and you just started walking around with your chest out. That's not how it goes. You usually have to, it's going to take a while. You got to get, first of all, get financing. Most people still moonlight in their regular job while they're starting a business. Like you said, every couple of years, now it's high value man. Before it was entrepreneur. That's a sexy word. It's a sexy word. You can run around and tell people, but you really don't have to show anything behind it. But I get it. I understand because as employees, we're abused so much.
Yeah.
We're abused so much as employees. But I mean, there's certain things that we have not done because as an employee, you get to a certain space and you just get stagnant. And then that's what kind of makes you susceptible to that abuse. But I had posted something in the chat because I'm not. One individual went on Vlad and was talking, and because he's not necessarily talking about business, but he's talking about these high power. I hate that term, but these upper management, executive corporate positions, which we all know that a lot of brothers do not occupy those positions. I don't care how many degrees you're going to get. I'm not saying don't go for it, but it's hella difficult. I mean, of what you're going to go through. My sister just graduated from Wharton MBA. And if you look at her network, yeah, you see a lot of women, BWs, but brothers, nah, they're not there. They're far and few in between. But he had mentioned, because he was talking with Vlad about these positions, and he had mentioned mergers and acquisitions at Goldman Sachs. So I've started to look it up because now he kind of mentioned a very specific position, and when you're doing all this high talk, it kind of it it enamors people. So then now people want to be like, now people want to shoot for that. Oh, I'm gonna, yeah, but you're not gonna get to for a brother to get into mergers and acquisition is gonna. I don't know. It's good. That's an insurmountable task. I'm not saying it can't be done, but that's gonna be very, very hard. You damn sure not gonna get it with dropping out of engineering school and waiting tables. But
there's a couple people who does like the mergers and acquisition thing, like in this space. I'm not gonna say any names, but it's a skill. It's still a skill. You still have to find a company that's willing to sell that you want to be in. It's a skill still. Like Black America does a great marketing job of marketing shit that's impossible to people who don't understand that it's impossible the way they're marketing it. So what they'll do is they'll market a a way to get to the ground from the space station without hitting the ground, without a parachute. And Black America is good at marketing you the ability to think that you're going to be able to make that leap and somehow make it down and you're going to be fine. Like, it's good at that. It's good at marketing bullshit as reality.
Well, let's run with that Goldman Sachs example, because they recently put out their first ever diversity report this quarter, right? And you know what was revealed? They only had 25 Black men working in the entire firm. I was actually surprised with the Black one was on like 26, because I'm thinking, oh, well, I know that they always keep Black men out of these positions, but I thought the Black women would be like maybe 100 of the entire force. They only had like 26 Black women and 25 Black men in the whole organization. And this is their own
known for just putting people on who ain't got their stuff together, though, man.
So my question to you two is, on the converse of that, so do we discourage, do we say, okay, let me just be my own business, or do we discourage dudes from going to get that higher degree, that advanced degree?
No, I don't believe in the discouraged thing, because again, I think what's more important is that.
Do you tell them that the chances of getting into that position are like the chances of making it to the NBA?
No, you don't never use terms like discourage and never. What you tell people is the truth, and you tell them what obstacles they must overcome. So, you don't say, well, you can't overcome this obstacle, because no, you tell them, if you want to get to this point, you're going to have to jump over this hurdle right here, and you're going to have to train yourself on what the skill set is to get over this hurdle, and to be better at getting over that hurdle than your competition. Here's where you stand, and you're beginning this race that you're behind.
But then we all see the abuse they go through, and then someone like then Dame Dash comes along and says, look, if you have a boss, you might as well call him your daddy. Because
here's the thing, man. Fuck Damon Dash. I listen to his podcast, but when he's on that stupid, goofy buck dancing bullshit, I don't even listen to that shit. Yeah. So what's going on, what's going on, man?
Hey, what's going on? Good morning, you guys. It's funny you talk about mergers and acquisition. I'm working on my accounting degree and my bachelor. My bachelor's my accounting degree. I eventually want to become a CPA. But I want to say shout out to MOT and Ramil, because they were especially MOT inspired me to start my own vending machine business. So it's funny. I started in November and I had like one. Now I'm about to have 6 by July.
That's what I'm saying, man.
Yeah. So and I'll be 27 next month. So it's like with this situation, which you were saying about the corporation, it's more of I don't want to say it's a rat race, but it kind of is. You're supposed to find a way where you get enough knowledge. For example, my field, we have the big big 5, like the big 4 top accounting firms, which is like KPMG, Ernst Young, PwC, and all that good stuff. People say by the time they hit their 5th year, they already have burnout, just like how you would have burnout in working in a field like Wall Street. After a while, being a stockbroker, you just start to mentally, it just wears on you. The key is to get your money up to the point where you can leave, or you take enough information where you have enough information and you could just fall back and you don't have to be in that rat race. Because what happens is it's a war of attrition, basically, especially as a Black person, because you know how it is. It's like, even I have family members that go through it. You're running a rat race trying to make either top manager, top associate, top partner. And what happens is they have you tutor or mentor all the younger non-black people there, and you're just working yourself to death until there's like, hey, we gotta let you go. It's like you gotta be able. I don't want to say because King Sigma was talking about how don't be a master of one trade, but don't be a jack of all trades and master of none. But you gotta find
No, that's not what I said. No, that's not what I said at all.
No, well, okay. Let me paraphrase. What I'm saying is how sometimes if our focus is all over the place, I should say, and we don't master the first level of something first, and we become try to do a CEO of like selling candles, or I don't want to go off of a tangent, but it's essential that you master something first, and you can be able to monetize it. Then you can, whenever it's time for you to up and leave the corporate rat race, you could just bounce and do your own thing. Because that's what I want to do. By the time I'm 30, I want to own my own laundromat. I'm not going to be working 20, 30 years.
Into, man. It's a pretty cheap business. It's not that much startup costs, and you can easily get a business loan for a laundromat.
But see, like he's putting in the work and he's going through the progress of doing it. He didn't just. Most people would just want to hear when you wake up one day and just say, "Oh, I'm George Jefferson. I got all these laundromats and stuff like that. Look at me." To tote around, but you don't hear that story, that side of it, what it took, how he had vending machines, how he was getting his degree. I don't think we want to do that.
Let me tell you guys this though. There have been times I'll be honest and be vulnerable. I've had almost to a point where I had nervous breakdowns because it's as MOT and King Sigma know, it's an uphill battle because you're fighting against you trying to be a productive black man. And you're fighting against the grifters. I'm telling you this straight up. It's so hard because, for example, I've said this multiple times, and I've spoken to MOT about this. Like, I've already surpassed my dad, right? My dad, he's what we would consider one of the grifters. Like, he would get along with all the dating coaches and all of the bullshit. Like, he's already given up on life, right? So, for example, I know someone. You have to be, in order to be well into the business, in my opinion, you have to be groomed because I'm in this situation. For example, I bought a car off of somebody. I made a bonehead move. I guess it's being young, but I made a bonehead move. I bought a car off of somebody, and then like literally by the time I'm about to pick it up, the person got incarcerated. Now the dude is like 19, and he's been in jail since like February. Right. So I live in New York City. So I needed the car to be able to move around the 5 boroughs. And so I'm going to back and forth throughout the 5 boroughs using the train, using like a Rubbermaid bin, like cart to carry around the stuff. Mind you, on top of that, I go to school and then I work overnight. It's not a, it's,
well, I would say to what you were saying when you said that, like, it stresses you out because of what these grifters are saying. That's surprising to me because to me, grifters are on and off switch. They only really exist if you're willing to listen to them. If you were to focus on what you're doing, like with your vending machine business, with your schooling, and you didn't even come to this space for like 6 months, you wouldn't even know most of this stuff is really happening in your life because it's mostly you're too focused and too dialed in with people that you don't know in real life. Like I said, you don't know these people's resumes. You don't know their track records. You don't know their balance sheets. So again, I just gave the stats on Goldman Sachs for their executives. Those are the highest paid. Overall, they only have like 6% of their employees. So it doesn't mean it's insurmountable to get those positions. It just means that as a person, as an employer, that you're investing your time in learning what skills you need to compete out here. You need to know the real stats and what you're going to be up against. That should not discourage you. That should be fuel. Because it's always been fuel for black men in this country that they have to work harder than others. But for some reason, this last generation or two has lost that understanding that you're going to have to outcompete other groups as a black male. That's just how it's always been. I don't know why this has been lost in the last few decades. I don't get it.
I'm going to elaborate on what I mean by that because it's not necessarily the mind. It's more so the spirit. For example, I know someone that just turned 30 and he has his own kid already. Same situation, you know, where the woman is just bossing him around this and that. I asked him, hey, bro, why don't we both just try to buy one vending machine? It would have been easier. I live in one part of New York. He lives in the other. Most of my machines are in his area. And I'm like, hey, bro, let's just do this. He's like, I don't know. Do you think it will make a lot of money? And I try to plead with him, like, hey, man, like, listen, like, if you want your baby mother to get off your back, like, it'll be much more easier if you help me with this. Then you can make your own money. You don't have to have, the strags stressing you out like that. Long
Don't go
story
into business with that person.
I know.
Do not go into business with that person.
I'm like, explain this.
Hold on a second. You're making a mistake, and it put me 5 years behind. By having, like, once I got out of the military, I had this same type of thing where I wanted to team up with people. I wanted to team up with somebody. Once I lost the ability and the actual, it was beaten into me because I kept going through the same thing that you went through, but I had like disastrous results and consequences every single time I tried to team up with people for convenience. You're going to have to do this stuff all alone and all by yourself. If they're kind of iffy-anty, you got to move on. You got to have people who's totally dedicated to the concept, because this person only wants to be dedicated to it just so long as it's guaranteed. And you can't have people around who don't want to invest in stuff, because if it's going to make any money, I'll try to be a part of it. But no, man, you got to have people who's all in. And if you're all in, that has to be enough. You don't have to take anybody with you.
Yeah, you know what it is. I was just tired of the slow grind, because each of my, it's like I'm a college student, right? And I'm still, I just have a job still working overnight, and each of the machines were like 3,000, and I'm like, yo, if we put both money together, instead of me buying like 2 machines every like 3 months, like how about we could have like, I could
hold on. Buying 2 machines every 3 months is exactly where you need to be. Don't try to overburden yourself by putting other untested liabilities in the same place of it. Like there was this young dude I was mentoring, and he almost bought a truck for some older dude that he didn't know to drive, just to give that guy an extra shot. I'm like, how come you can't drive it? And it's like, wait a minute, this dude's 50. You're how old? Like, bro, listen, man. The reason why you're doing all this stuff isn't to put everybody on. You're doing this stuff to put yourself on. And maybe way later on down the road, you can afford to bring people on, but you can't be bringing them on in the first beginning. You're trying to low balance the plane wrong. You're trying to put all the fuel or all the cargo on one side of the aircraft. You're going to go down the runway. You're going to try to take off, and that thing is going to tip, turn over, and plaster into the ground. You got to be able to do this stuff alone and by yourself, man. You got to have the confidence to be like, you know what? I got to look at progressing in a way that makes sense. Not progressing in a way to where, oh, I'm about to make all. No. The money's going to be there, because people are never going to stop using vending machines. And if you looked at the vending machines over the years, the packages have been getting smaller and smaller and smaller, and the prices have been getting higher and higher and higher. So it's okay to have a very slow progression. You cannot be adding all these untested liabilities to your future, because it will not work overall.
Yeah,
it can't work that way.
Stop listening to these online grifters, bro. See, I could tell from listening to you that you're taking what people are saying at face value instead of actually cross-referencing information. Everyone that you see, myself, MOT, anyone that puts out some data for you, like I just gave you a data point that 25 black men and 25 black women are in an executive position at Goldman Sachs out of like 2,000, and they have less than 6% of black employees. And they use that term very loosely in corporate America. Now you got to go confirm that for yourself. Don't take my word for it. You go confirm that for yourself. So when you have these quote unquote pro-black types that are selling you the feel-good story, where you just talking about like, hey, you got $100, he got $1, and he's selling you on the dream about buy black. And then when you actually start to question, well, what do you buy black? Did you buy your car black? Did you buy your home black? Are your shoes buy black? You find out nothing about their actual, what they're doing fits that narrative, but they want to do the feel good and attach themselves to what you're doing because they see that you're doing it in practice. They just like the image of it, but they want to have as little investment as possible in what you're doing, but they want to somehow be able to attach themselves to your coattails. You got to be able to cut those people off immediately, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Man. Yeah. You're absolutely right. But this is what I was going to say. Long story short, like come to find out, maybe about around a year later, he comes up to me. He's like, "You guys won't believe this." He's like, "Hey, he's like, I wanted to go into business." I'm like, "Oh, really? Where?" He's like, I'm like, "What kind of business?" He's like, he was thinking of doing adult films, and he was like, seeing if he could call like different girls from like Atlanta, from New York, this, that, and the third, if they'd be down with it. And that's what's basically what was my point. It was like the whole thing of just chasing ass. It
Hold
was
on,
like,
but see, you should have cut him off immediately because if you
did
see,
after that.
this is what MO2 was talking about doing your market research earlier, right? This is what I'm saying. Okay, even when it comes to that part of the game, the adult entertainment, right? It doesn't work like that anymore. Now, because of the internet, you just pay a fee to like a certain online company. They provide you with all the content. It's not about the content as much now. It's about the platforms that you have, like a YouTube or whatever. The content is already there. So it's lower cost for you as a publisher because all you do is say, hey, I have this platform, Azriel, and I want to put these kind of videos on there. They got millions of videos, but they don't have the right platforms. And that's why certain platforms have all these eyes. So, this is what I mean. Like, guys be doing all this talking, but it's always this backwards way of getting to a place, not the quickest way. You want to have the most efficient way to get to that dollar by whatever business that you're trying to establish. And that's what I'm talking about, this image thing. Brothers are so caught up in having titles and having an image, but then when you actually dig beneath what they're saying, and
there's no work.
There's no results, really. Hey, what was your financial statement last quarter? Financial statement? Yeah. I don't got a financial statement. You don't have a financial statement? No.
Not filing taxes, all this type of ridiculous stuff. And it's like, yeah. So
what's the cash flow? What's your owner's equity?
And they're going to get a lot of these dudes put in jail because, again, like I said earlier, no state is going to turn down you incorporating because they get a fee off that. But here's the problem: the moment you get that tax ID, you are now on the radar of IRS. There's going to be a lot of people during this COVID, for example, that are going to jail in 12 months because they were doing the PPP thing, listening to online grifters. Oh, go set up your LLC. You can get this and that. What they didn't tell you is that the moment that tax ID is set up, you are an entity now, and you're on the radar of the government. And when they come to do their audits 6 months from now, they already brought in a whole fleet of new IRS agents that are going to be coming in 2021, 2022, and doing audits on all these people with these big-ass LLCs. But what you're not going to hear is when all those people start getting rounded up and put in jail, the online grifters will be on to the next topic. They'll be talking about what's the next big thing that's going to be coming around the corner because Bitcoin done crashed.
Real estate. Probably another real estate bubble or something. They're like, we'll get into the real estate.
Yeah, it'll be another topic. My point is they're never held accountable because they'll just say it was just entertainment.
Yep. And why would you believe me? I'm not certified. Yeah.
I was just saying overall, it was more so I was like, damn, I have one cool. Most of the people I do business with, unfortunately, are non-black. I guess I've come to terms that it's gonna be like that.
Yeah,
in the long run.
Yeah, mine too. Don't bother me at all.
Yeah, yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm young, so it's like by the time I get your age, I'm like, hey, it is what it is. But it's like I see, for example, I know one person. He sold me some of his machines, but he's able to get in and out of the business and do whatever he wants because of the network. And unfortunately, throughout my naiveness, I was trying to build that same network. I could be able to just do this and do that, but it's like to no avail, man. But if you want to be like, hey, let's go down to
scale is also a skill. Like, it ain't as easy. Like, that's why I tell people, all this shit is still a skill. You bring that skill to the table, then all of a sudden, going to the next table, you're gonna need another skill. Like what you got you there, like me, learning how to drive a truck ain't got shit to do with the transportation industry. Anybody can drive a truck. Not everybody can go talk to customers. Not everybody can deal with insurance companies. Not everybody can deal with false claims. Not everybody can deal with bullshit tickets and all this kind of other stuff. All this other stuff was stuff that I had to hire and outsource that thing to, just so that way I could just do the easy shit. So it's like, it's still a process that you're going to have to follow from beginning to end. I know it's time short. What's going on, Dr. Phoenix?
No, how you brothers doing this morning? Thank you for having me.
What's going on?
No, I just want to address a few points. Well, last week there was a conversation that was had on a particular gentleman's channel, and in this conversation, it was essentially it came down to men being quote alphas and applying pimp principles to, I guess, life, if you will. And
What?
yeah, I don't know if the brother still has the video up, but
Okay.
I'll just drop the name in the back chat. But the point is that there was two things that were said that kind of really bothered me. One, when it came to the issue of income, and there were a number of guys on the panel in the chat talking about being in Atlanta and 30K in Atlanta. You can live on 30K in Atlanta. I'm just gonna be frank with you. You ain't living on 30K in Atlanta.
Where in Atlanta can you live for 30K?
Look, Mike.
What's his neighborhood?
Look,
Trailer
Mike
park in the
V,
trailer park.
It's called
Mike
Under the
V-
Freeway, under 85.
Well, here's the funny part. Mike V, myself, some of the other brothers at the Black Brain Trust had covered an article about a year and a half or so ago about how black folks are basically getting pushed out of Atlanta because they couldn't afford rent.
Yeah.
And in Atlanta, you cannot afford a decent apartment if you don't want a Roach Motel if you're paying under $1,400. And right now, I'll put this out there right now. I'm in the process of looking at moving to Atlanta because obviously for schooling and stuff like that. But the point is that what I'm looking at, it's $2,000 minimum.
Damn.
It's $2,000. If you want to live in Midtown, you ain't paying nothing less than $1,700-1,800.
Sounds like New York.
Yeah.
Not
And-
that's pretty much everywhere in urban America
Yeah,
now.
I just spent the past month in downtown Chicago. I was staying at the Hyatt right there in Streeterville. Anybody knows where downtown Chicago or Streeterville is at? There's a giant Northwestern Medical Center right there at the edge of downtown, where downtown meets the upscale neighborhood Streeterville. There's a Hyatt there. There's quite a few high-end hotels there, but Hyatt is one of them. And I was staying at the Hyatt, and I can tell you right now, there was not a corner I didn't go on. I did not see a black homeless man. Multiple black homeless men.
Yeah, it's pretty bad out here.
And anyone that's been in Chicago or living there now, they would tell you, if you go to downtown Chicago, there are literally police on every corner. They have their cars parked in the middle of they're either parked at the corners or they're in the medians, and you have nothing but cops, rows of cops on bikes or on foot, going all through downtown Chicago. And I kid you not, every damn corner I went on in downtown Chicago, multiple homeless men. All of them were black. I think I maybe saw one or two that weren't black. All of them were black. And the interesting thing about this is that folks are really going through this space on YouTube, telling black men you can live on 30K when there is not a damn metro in this country that you will survive on 30K. And then this particular dude started talking
Maybe
about
Jackson,
poverty.
Mississippi.
Man, I don't even know if
You know
live in
what? I
Jackson,
tell you what,
Mississippi.
man.
Shit.
I
can live in
tell you
Mississippi
what,
Delta.
about a year or so ago, I was down in Baton Rouge in Louisiana, and I tell you right now, you want a decent place down there, you about to be ponying up another $1,400-1,500. It is what it is.
No,
And the funny part was when I was on the campus, when I was on the LSU campus, because I knew a couple folks that went there. You literally have the prisoners from the Angola prison. I'm sure MOT is familiar with that. They're Angola, and I kid you not, they got the guards out there with long rifles watching these guys. These guys do all the damn landscaping and stuff out there. Bunch of 6 foot plus tall country dudes, and you got a bunch of white guards with long rifles ready out there to shoot them if they act crazy. And that's what I saw. But and then the other part of the conversation, you had some dude, and I think this needs to be said. I don't know what the hell is going on with California with black men, but
Black people.
a lot of these dudes in this space a lot of brothers in this space from California. I don't know what the hell's going on. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe they spend too much time smoking crack, whatever. But if you listen to a dude that's telling you he's going to get black males into the medical game without degrees, is lying to you. I am telling you that.
What?
Yeah, this was all said on this panel, on this brother's channel. I'll drop the
No,
name in the back chat.
no, I'm good, man. Don't
The
tell me.
fact-
I'm fine, man. Don't,
No, but I'm just saying, but brothers are really listening to this dude because this particular dude in general, I hear he's been around in this space for about a decade or so, whatever. A lot of the younger dudes tend to listen to this cat.
The fact that he's referring to it as the game, the medical game, is an issue in and of itself.
And then here's the oxymoron about it. He followed it up by saying it's Pakistani supremacy in the medical game. Dude, there's already been Asian supremacy in the medical game. There is not a goddamn medical school you can go to in this country where you won't find at least a third of the damn students aren't Asian.
And that's
And some of them, you go there, they're closer to 50%.
I was the last time I took a class at the University of
Is this
Minnesota.
dude's initials? Is it TN? I'm sorry.
And I saw
No.
that was a surprise to me just going up on the campus. So I was like, touring
It's
the
more
campus.
like MR.
I couldn't believe how many Asians there were on this campus, bro. I'm talking about like the Asian population is low. I mean, okay, it's 8% now, but I'm just saying like in most cities it's lower than 5%. But the campus was about 50% Asian. I'm talking about just on a sunny day, driving around the campus, you can see it. It's visible that there is barely any black people on the campus. As much as you hear hyped in the media about the black woman or whatever, I didn't even see black women, let alone black men on the campus. It was just pretty much white, but I couldn't believe how many Asians there were on this campus that has 50,000 students and almost every was Asian.
I could, because here's the thing, man. When you have a culture that produces superior success on average, and they're kind of people dominate those things, don't be surprised that they're just going to start taking over everything, as they should. Because guess what? We had the same opportunity, and we have it right now. We just decided to let people do what they do, and then try to loop the actual men in this environment into picking up broken glass and eating on it as actual nutrition. So they decided that they was going to create a superior process and keep engaging in it because it brought results. And we decided to actually compete in a process that didn't create results. So it doesn't surprise me, the homelessness. It doesn't surprise me, the actual people who are taking advantage of the things that are here in America that anybody could have did. It's just that whenever I see fingers pointed out about what the Asians get and what the LGBT get, I'm like, you're just pointing out the fact that you ain't doing shit. And that other people are taking more advantage of America than you are. Like, so when you hear these complaint-based conversations about what these group of people, what those group of people are doing, they're not even talking about you. You're talking about them. Like, so when I see these kind of conversations go on, it doesn't make any sense to talk about people who got more power than you. The only thing that matters is that you're practicing the same level of success that they're practicing. Yes, it's supposed, dude, they have a superior fucking culture that don't concentrate on bullshit. They're supposed to be winning.
I just want to highlight something really quickly.
Do they even have an educated layman that you got it, doctor? I just want to know from you guys on the panel, have you heard from, when you engage with other cultures, have you ever heard them say, use a term, one of the worst terms I've ever heard, educated layman? Have you even heard a term?
Oh,
like
no.
Look,
Steve Jobs and Buffett and Zuckerberg, those are icons, man. Sergey Brin, those are icons in other cultures. I mean, they idolize the intelligentsia of their community. We just put them to the backs. I guarantee you, if you go up to a random black young person in high school, even in college, and ask them who Robert F. Smith is, they wouldn't even know. I would put money on that.
I would do you one even better. Ask them who Ronald McNair is. They don't even know that.
No, it's fine. It's just that that's why we have to create a superior system where we have our stuff together. We know what's here. We know what's out here. We know what the failure rate is. The only thing you have to do is create a different structure without the people who don't have the track record of respecting the last structure. It's really not that hard to me. Yeah. I mean, I'm proud of the people who got the success done right. Because here's the thing. You can't claim that it's not being done because it's being done by somebody.
Well, you
Right?
know, to that point, MOT, because in this conversation, after this dude goes on talking about getting black males into the game, to the medical game, without degrees and Pakistani supremacy, whatever. He goes on to talk about how black males are the major hindrance, how older black males are the major hindrance to younger black
No, I
males.
would say that most.
And black males are, quote, dominated by, of course, the white man. But here's a dude who loves talking about being from Oakland, California. And I swear, it's only these California dudes that talk this crazy crap. and you know, you have these guys that come on and the sad part is they get an audience because the dudes sound like your drunk failure of an uncle. And
Yeah.
no one says nothing. I mean, black males, the average black male in this space just eats this crap up. And you don't even understand that the folks you're competing about, the folks he's complaining about, how do you think these folks are coming to you? How do you think these folks are coming to this country? These folks are on J visas. A third of your damn physicians and surgeons in this country are from other countries. 30+% of your damn practicing doctors in this country are from other countries, principally Asia.
Yeah, but here's the thing, man. Like I said, I'm not worried about that individual. I'm actually happy the individual actually exists, so that way they can highlight the black men that are not ready. Because I don't hire motherfuckers who ain't ready. I hire you. I'm gonna sit you down, talk to you. The moment I hear about bitches, done. You go work for one of these other motherfucking pro blacks who ain't owning no fucking business. Go work for them dumb motherfuckers. Because I'm not helping no fucking motherfucker handle any of these people within the environment. I'm trying to build something new. I'm not trying to carry through this old shit. I want it to be an academic discussion. I want it to be a drive through town and point and be like, and I could have been one of those dudes if I didn't leave at this point in time right here.
Thank you for
I don't
saying
want
that. Damn.
yeah. It's like I don't want to waste too much time on those type of people because those people don't waste any time talking about successful dudes other than just trying to throw us under the bus for shit that we're not even responsible for. Because if we would have chased more sex like they did or even became better at it, it wouldn't have made us better people. And that's what they're kind of actually based on. So I'm not really worried about it.
They want
Man, somebody got some background noise.
They want you to be guilty. See what it is? These people that don't want you to establish a new cultural paradigm, they want you to feel guilty for the things that you had no part in, like, you know, things that happened before 1965 or 1920 or whatever. That's important history to know generally, but we're living in today so that we can have a better tomorrow. So the moment you start trying to establish some kind of new standards and cultural norms, they try to guilt shame you about it. And I think it's long overdue that brothers start realizing that how do you let people that don't care about you put this guilt on you? We know the data. We know where black men are performing at. I did a whole stream the other day breaking down how Asian Americans have surpassed the black population overall. I'm talking about all of the groups. The poorest Asian group was the Burmese, and their average income in 2020 on the U.S. Census was $48,000. That means that the Burmese man and the Burmese woman are beating the Burmese black man and the Burmese black woman, and everyone wants to ignore these facts. So they got you chasing after all this nonsense when the only thing you should be focused on is developing your skills and reaching your potential, and stop looking at these online guys or rappers and trying to live vicariously through them, knowing that only one out of 10,000 is going to be able to do what a Jay-Z or one of these rappers did. You're going to have to get the kind of skills that are valued in the economy that's outside of entertainment, but they don't want no parts of that because they think that that's lame, and that's why they fall behind.
Yeah, so fuck them. Yeah, so
to anybody that's young out here, I was gonna say this: it's easier to be a accountant or engineer than to be a rapper. I'm telling you this right now. It just takes time and to put in the work. Well, go ahead.
But you guys, you know, the problem is that, and MOT was saying he doesn't care, but the only problem is that these guys are getting. I mean, these people are coming into the market as failures in the sense that, like, I tell Dr. Phoenix all the time, man. You can't help these guys if you cannot read at a proficient level. Like, a lot of the reasons why a lot of people are drawn to this stuff is because the minute you talk about school opening up a book education, they're scared, and I understand that, because you even see this in Africa. The education standard is so poor that those that fall through the cracks and are not able to get us or receive a substandard education, you set them up for failure because they cannot. Their reading comprehension skills. So you want to tell them to, hey, there's this profession. Just go get your certification. You become a surgical tech, or you become a sterile processing, or whatever. All you have to do, you got to take this exam. It's some of the easiest things that you can do. I mean, you want to talk about quote unquote getting into the medical game. I mean, I guess there you go. You just take the certification exam. You start making $18, $20 an hour immediately. That will make a world of difference if you're 19, 20 years old and you're making this kind of money. But
that's what I'm saying, man. That's what I'm saying.
But these boys, they can't read. These people cannot read. Therefore, what happens is other groups. I mean, because people would see me and be like, man, how do you become a pharmacy technician? How do you do this? And I sit there and tell them, look, all you got to do is just go buy the book, take the exam, this and that. Boom. Within 3 months, they've done it. Simple stuff. But when you can't read, when you do not know how to read, when you can't read at a functional level, you're done. There's nothing I can do to help you. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No. Go ahead. Continue, Jesus. No,
I would say better yet, even have the discipline to read. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, it's fine. We're working on people who actually want to do shit. I'm not worried about all this other.
Yeah, but these are 17-year-olds that can't read.
MOT, because I think this is the important part to the when these conversations occur, is that there's this perpetual shaming of brothers who saying, like, look, I'm not helping no one that's not going to prove that they want this. And that has always been my motto. That's always been my philosophy. I did not become a McNair scholar because I just walked into a Big Ten university and I just got a bunch of C's. No, I became one because I managed to get good relationships with professors because I was a good student.
But what you're missing, Dr. Phoenix, is not that. What you're missing is not that they don't want to, is that they can't. They don't want.
I agree. For some folks, they can't. I agree. For most folks,
I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that.
I agree. For many folks, this is probably over their head, out of their depth.
I don't think
How many people want to join the military, but they lack the basic requirement? I mean, even the standard laws to join the army.
That's why most folks end up becoming cooks or infantrymen in the military.
I don't know about that word "can." I don't like that word "can" and discourage and things like, because again, there's lots of people that have the potential to do exactly what every one of you is doing. It's just that either you had a little bit more talent, but more than likely had a better work ethic than they did. So when we start talking about what the key word is, that's an excuse, because then that's what these people want you to say.
King Sigma, you're from Baltimore.
Jesus, let them talk, man.
I'm just trying to say to you, Jesus, you're using words like these people can't do it. No, they can. See, when you do that, that's another kind of victimhood thing, because then they say, well, I'm disabled. And here's the problem with that argument. The America economy right now, how competitive it is, it doesn't care if you're disabled. It's not waiting around for you, because, hey, that's why I get so insulted that there's not an outcry against 75% of 18-year-old black boys reading at a 6th grade level. Because guess what? Exactly. Once they get pumped into the human economy, these employers don't give a damn if you came from a single mother's home or if
they don't give a shit.
They want to know, can you perform and can you make us money while lowering costs? If you can't do that, well, you go get a Social Security check or go sleep on Skid Row, because we ain't got nothing for you. Let's stop making excuses for people, man.
No, I agree. I agree wholeheartedly with that. So, and like I said, for me, it's always been, you're gonna have to prove that you're worthy of my time for me to help you out. Jesus can tell you, he can call me up and he can pick my brain on anything, on medical related things all the time if he wants. I don't do that for everyone. I only do that for people who demonstrated that they're goddamn serious and they know what the hell they want and can get the damn job done. I'm not just gonna do this because you want to guilt trip me into saving every black boy because they look like me.
Yeah. So there's two sides to this argument. There is the Dr. Phoenix standard, which should be the cultural standard anyway, and then there's what's normally going on within the Black American construct within don't take anything seriously, the people who are also not serious are going to waste all their time on the people who are never serious. So we're not saying we're cutting this stuff off. We're saying that everybody is on the ground floor. Well, maybe not the educational piece because that's kind of a time-sensitive thing, but the actual skills and abilities things is something else that everybody can get. You can still get the skills. You won't be able to do like right now. The skills you can get now, it's open to everybody. Like the path that Dr. Phoenix is on is very time-sensitive, very detailed. No matter what your background is. You're going to have the hard sciences, the medical. You're going to have that. Talk about somebody who was in the military, very smart guy. But I'm just saying that for everybody else who's not in medicine, y'all still need to get a skill and ability. I don't want people, whoever you are, trapped in low-wage jobs. You leave that to people who just came to America. We all got to start moving up into different things. I don't want to tell people or try to entrap them, no matter who they are, into like low wage career fields. I want everybody to be able to move up into something else. So what we're going to do is probably start having streams on those things about the jobs that are available and the training that it takes to actually get into those things. That's what's next after just talking about this. So that way we can have a level of progression of the channel from going from this. So now let's start talking about the process of how you get into it. So now you have a nice track record of knowing. We talked about the difference between X and X. So now we're going to show people how to get to those particular places. And so I got to be able to roll out because I got something else to do. So you got any last words, Azriel?
I want to say what Sergey Brin said, if you master math, you master the universe or the world. So I would tell anybody, hey, man, like, for example, me, I'm an accountant major. I plan eventually to become an actuary. You can just, once you master the actuarial math, you could work from home. You don't have to be in America. You could be just working in another country and then just send in your work and, do you. But you just have to master the math. And it takes discipline and it takes patience. So, yeah, I would definitely recommend that to anybody looking into that, actuarial science. But thank you for having me on.
All right, cool. Doc Phoenix, got anything else before we go?
Just really quickly to what Azriel just said. My calculus professor was an actuary, so yeah. He was a Filipino and he was an actuary. So go figure. But the whole point of all of this is that Black men have been taking advice from men who are complete failures. If you got a guy that's on a panel who's a multiple baby daddy, working some dead-end job wherever, and telling you what a man is and what manhood is and what makes you an alpha or doesn't make you an alpha, if you're listening to him, you deserve to be exactly where you're at. And I'm gonna leave it at that. MOT, thank you for having me, brother.
All right, thanks for the $5 super chat numbers. The fact you said you're going to start a stream about what process is needed to move up in life is one point. Yeah, because there got to be a level of progression here, so that way people can know what it is. Because the simple stuff that I help people with, I want other people to get too. It's this stuff really isn't hard. It's procedural. It's procedural, and it's hard because people have this fake it till you make it, this hustle type of nonsense. But I want people to understand that this process is something that everybody can do themselves. If I'm helping homeless people get their stuff together, there ain't no way that some of these people can actually do the same thing. That's all I'm saying. So you got anything else, King Sigma, before we get up out of here?
Yeah, I would just say that, regarding the topic that, we should not be disrespecting our blue collar brothers because, recently I was on a lunch break and we got hit with a heat wave out here for the last week, the worst in our history. And our temperatures have been like 95 to 100 the last week. And there were workers out there. You know how they do the tar on the concrete?
Man, look, man, I done that, man. That is some of the hardest work I have ever done in my life. And I did that shit in San Antonio.
Oh, my God. I saw it, man. I'm on my lunch break. I'm leaving an air conditioning building, and I look out and they got the cats out there doing the tar. Now, in my city, those are all union workers. And how would I look disrespecting the fact that there are brothers out there that are doing that kind of labor? Because if they weren't doing that labor, they would have me doing that labor. So how can I disrespect those guys who are doing that kind of labor and they're putting food on the table of their families, they're getting their children educated, and we're going to disrespect them? No, I'm not joining that. So with that, you have a good day, MOT. Thanks for having me on.
All right, and along with the topic, thanks for the $20 super chat, Doc Fan. Yeah, man, I did that exact shit in San Antonio, and let me tell you, man, those some of the hardest 2-month period, but they paid a lot of money and it really helped me get my shit back straight. And I learned a lot during that time period, doing that hard ass work out there, hard some dude. We talking about June 15. I think it was a June 15 to August 15 contract that I took up for I think 10 grand, but I needed like half of that money to pay for shit. Man, some hard work, man, and I just can't be going out here shitting all the workers, man. It don't make any sense. So, back to word. Oh, what's going on, man? Thanks for coming through. No, it's just that I don't think that's entirely true. Let me go into that infantry skills before we get up out of here. I don't think we're being outmaneuvered. It's just that the process is there. Other people are following the process, and we're not. Because the culture is based on getting stuff quite quickly, right? So, yeah, you can say that we're being outmaneuvered, but specific people are going to have to get involved so that way they're not being outmaneuvered. Like, people don't even understand how easy this stuff is to get into. And that's like the next level of the conversation is how easy this stuff is to get into. I don't care about where you were raised at and none of that shit. I just want you being a productive person. And once you do have your productivity together, not giving this stuff away to people who don't respect that type of stuff. That's all I'm saying. I want people to be productive and separated and dealing with people who are on their level, not creating a group of productive people who's going to turn around and do all this stuff for another group of people. That's not where I'm at. So I want to thank everybody for coming through. I'm the man tomorrow. Thanks for listening to the live stream. I'm going to be getting some stuff together for a Sunday night procedural to how to move forward. We're going to go over the top jobs in most of these states. And they're some of the same jobs, man. I'm going to be having some links in the actual live stream so that way people can actually start looking that stuff up within the area. I'm going to start calling up a whole bunch of people so that way we can start having these people on to explain their actual schools to people and all that stuff. Invite some people from like the workforce places in some of these big counties in the country so that way they can explain how they get their process rolling. Because I'm telling you, once you plug into the process, you're really going to have a good outcome. But you got to be involved in order to do that. And you can't give it away to people who don't respect it. That's also part of the process as well. It isn't just getting to be productive and then doing the same stuff with it. So I want to thank you guys for coming through on the man tomorrow. You guys have a really nice day. Peace.